Over the past few years, Apex Legends has settled into a comfortable spot right behind Fortnite in the Battle Royale genre. Having said that, while it may not be the top dog, it's still incredibly popular and gets tons of support from Respawn. And as we head into the game's 14th season, we're also getting a brand new agent called Vantage. So without further ado, let's dive straight in and see what she's all about. First up, Respawn accidentally leaks its new agent. At this point, Apex Legends has kinda matured into a content-rich game with plenty to play for old and new players. Like, they've got game modes other than your run-of-the-mill Battle Royale too. Oh, and we won't even begin to list all the agents now, as the roster's reaching the 20-character mark at this point. With that said, Vince Zampella's team is easily one of the most talented studios in the world, and somehow they just keep churning out an unrelenting amount of content. So when Season 14 was announced, most people were expecting a new character anyway. These days, however, it's super hard to keep a secret in the gaming industry, as leakers and data miners are clamoring to find any crumbs of information about new content. Plus, usually, they do manage to snoop their way into things they shouldn't be seeing too. In some rare instances, though, the developer trips over its own feet and leaks the info on a silver platter instead. We mean, remember when Sony accidentally leaked The Last of Us Part 1 literally hours before the big surprise announcement? What a bummer. That's kinda what's happened with Respawn too, as they accidentally published the preview image on their own client. Also, this self-inflicted leak had a really close-up shot of their new character Vantage, which meant that there was literally no need to speculate anymore. No, seriously, anyone who logged into the game's client on the 23rd got a pretty good look at the new tracking class agent, and by the time the devs realized what they'd done, it was already too late. But hey, when it comes to character reveals, especially in games like Apex Legends, which aren't gonna bring some crazy licensed property like Smash Brothers or Fortnite, it's much easier to digest a leak, so no one's getting fired or anything over there, and it's all good. Up next, Vantage is an alternative option for Bloodhound players. Alright, so if you're not aware, Apex Legends agents each have their own set of abilities that put them in a certain class bracket. For instance, Pathfinder's a traversal-focused character that can quickly move around vast expanses with a zipline. This new character Vantage, on the other hand, will feel very familiar to play for Bloodhound mains. For instance, she's apparently got some tracking abilities that can mark enemies, and perhaps even make them visible through walls. To make these powers seem believable though, Respawn has given her the ability to communicate with creatures around her, including a white bat that's probably gonna recon stuff around the map for her. Also, as the name suggests, she's gonna be pretty handy for players who like to get up high and snipe. Also, her character traits and abilities seem super fitting considering how the season's called Hunted. Now, Vantage has a pretty interesting backstory. When Apex Legends started out with its handful of agents, there wasn't much lore backing things up. Like, yes, we had some basic stuff about each character, and we knew that the game was set in the Titanfall universe, but other than that, things were pretty bare bones. As the game has evolved over time, however, Respawn's also started to embrace the story side of things as it strives to build a living universe kinda like what Blizzard was doing with Overwatch. Besides, at this point, it almost feels like the endgame is to have an original story like the League of Legends show Arcane. Oh, and they're like fully into the whole idea too, with each character getting its own story episode. Plus, if you're someone who played Blizzard's hero shooter back in the day, this'll feel very familiar. Coming to Vantage though, the stories from the Outlands cinematic shows that her real name is actually Mara, which makes sense, and apparently she crash-landed on the planet as part of a team, but when things went south, she had to adapt to the surrounding environment and learn to live with the adversity. So yeah, she's pretty badass. Also, Apex Legends might be heading in a new direction. We've already talked about how Respawn's trying to drill some narrative into Apex Legends to make it feel more compelling as a franchise and not just limit it to the Battle Royale genre. Also, even if they were to stick to their guns here, it's still a pretty great move since Fortnite's big season events and story stuff is kinda revered among its community, so going down that route wouldn't do Apex any harm. With that said, Respawn's long game is actually much more ambitious than that. You see, they're trying to build their own universe within this franchise that can span across TV shows, movies, and other games too. As a matter of fact, some job listings at the studio earlier this year revealed that they are indeed working on a first-person single-player adventure that takes place in the Apex universe. But wait, wasn't that just the Titanfall world? Well, honestly, we don't know at this point, since EA seems adamant about erasing any sign of its mech shooter franchise, despite it being really good. Like, they literally sabotaged that franchise by releasing it next to 3 other massive AAA shooters. Yeah, we're totally not mad about that. At the same time though, Apex Legends is arguably the more popular game now, so naming the universe after it rather than sticking to its older name does make sense. Oh, and according to the listing, the single-player title is a designer's dream playground with the freedom to innovate made possible by the unique universe it inhabits. Don't expect to see it anytime soon though, since it's still in the early stages of development. Next up, what else do we know about Season 14? Now, a new character is obviously going to be the biggest addition to any season, as not only is it going to shift the meta, but but it's also going to add a bunch of new ways to play for us. But as we know, a season comes with a lot more content than just a single agent. So what else can we expect to see? For starters, we're getting a much needed increase in the level cap. For context, Apex Legends allows players to earn XP by competing in any of its game modes, which then contributes towards the level. And as you go up those ranks, you get Apex packs for free, which again can be used to unlock cosmetics and other items. Yeah, it's a whole system. At launch, the max level cap was 100, but in 2019, Respawn increased it to 500, which almost felt like it was almost too high. Yet here we are 3 years later with a ton of players sitting at the ceiling. So it's a welcome change, as it's going to give everyone something to grind toward. Other than that, we're also apparently getting a reforged King's Canyon. Oh, and for those who don't know, this was the OG map for the Battle Royale mode, so we're definitely curious to see what it looks like after some tweaks. Also, of course, we've got a new battle pass with new rewards and cosmetics as well. And finally, Respawn has been EA's shining star lately. When talking about a Battle Royale game like Apex, it's easy to dismiss the effort that goes into maintaining such a large-scale operation while pumping it with new content. We mean, Epic makes it look easy because they've got 1 billion employees working on Fortnite, but Respawn doesn't have nearly as much manpower as them. What's even more impressive, however, is the fact that Apex isn't even their main thing anymore. Like, yes, they're obviously doing as much as they can to keep the players engaged, but in reality, they've got at least 2 other projects in the works too. For instance, Star Wars Jedi Survivors, supposed to hit the store shelves early next year, and they're also making the single-player Apex Legends game we discussed earlier. Now, we don't know about you, but we feel like Respawn deserves some love for juggling so many projects at the same time and still maintaining their quality. We mean, even when all the other EA studios were misfiring, Vince Zampella's team was setting an example for the entire industry with games like Titanfall 2 and Jedi Fallen Order. Oh, and speaking of Vince, his studio's success has also elevated him to a senior role among the publisher's ranks, which means that he oversees a lot of stuff other than just Respawn, now including DICE and Battlefield. The point is that it's been incredible to see them rise from the ashes of their Call of Duty exodus and become one of the most prolific studios across the entire video game industry. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that Respawn is the best studio at EA? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.